So now up to this point, the solo growth model too, it's still assuming that technology is so random, right? And one of the cases that we could use to look at this solo case study is in Africa that I mentioned a little bit earlier, that between 1956 to 1977, right, a lot of help coming into African countries. So 50 years later, policies have still failed across the continent. This is incomplete growth theory, faulty policy, observations led to and re-examination of the growth theory, right? Many years past, most African nations are no better off today compared to the 1950s, despite the fact that the developed world has experienced significant economic growth. So based on this, we were looking at these nations have different independence date, and this could be something there beyond just a random technological advancement. Now, the modern growth theory evolved. Modern economic growth theory focuses on particular reasons that some nations experience technological advancement while others do not. Growth is sustained, right, through technological innovation that occurs endogenously and driven by factors inside the economy, is not exogenously. Technological innovations no longer occur randomly or exogenously. Okay, so some economies grow faster for reasons specific to those economies, and technological change is now considered in the same model, right? We call this endogenous variable. So that means creates an environment that encourages technological change, right? So everything should be in the model. What does it even mean? Put it this way, okay? Growth is sustained through technological innovation, right, that occurs endogenously, driven by the factors that inside the economy. So this economist, Robert Lucas, he's a Nobel Prize winning macroeconomist. He said, why it matters for policy. Here is why it matters for policy. If a technological change is based on pure randomness, there's not much we can do to encourage natural growth. So on the other hand, if technological change is caused by factors inside the economy endogenously, then we can influence growth by trying to change the economy so it fosters technological advances, right? So it's endogenous, then we can do something about it, right? And here we go. All right, I'm going to skip this one. Maybe not only this technological advancement has to be endogenous, but at the same time, how do we make people endogenize all of this technological advancement? How people wanted to improve technology? What really made them want to improve technology? So proper institutions, basically, right? Proper institutions can create incentive for growth. Institutions can be formal or informal, right? But it will dictate the production environment and help determine the costs and benefits of production. So different institutions can create different incentives for individuals and change the behavior, right, which can promote or hinder growth. So broadly defined, we could have good institution and bad institutions, right? We already in the previous chapter, we discussed at length about institution, but let one more time summarize what institutions are. Institution means significant practices, relationships, or organizations in society that frame the incentive structure within which individuals and business firms act. So basically, it made technological advancement as part of the decision-making process. We want to have growth. We include innovation, technological advancement in the model, and then we benefit from it. That is why we want to have better technology. So, in order to secure this, benefit, institutions, formal or informal, must be in place. The right institutions lead to economic growth, right? Positive institutions include transparent and consistent government, private property rights, stable money and prices so that uncertainty can be minimized. The negative institutions could be corruption, political instability. So now we are going to adjust the production function. Take a look. We used to have physical capital, human capital from Solar Growth Model 1, and then natural resources as well. And a technology is the Solar Growth Model 2. But now we put institutions as part of this input that determine the output, and institutions also interact with technology. It's secure that the benefits from innovations could be reaped and more incentive for firms to innovate. Okay, again, the modern growth theory, this is the modern growth theory, augments the traditional solar growth model. So the aggregate production function is still the foundation of all growth theory. Note that change in the production function here, right? We have added a fourth variable, which is endogenous, the foundation for endogenous growth, right? This fourth variable. Many economists have started to recognize the role of strong institutions in growth. And institutions provide incentive for new technology and growth to emerge. All right, so now remember these 7 institutions that foster economic growth, and we already talked about all of them in the previous chapters, right? So now let's summarize this. The investment will happen only if expected payoffs is larger than the cost, right? So we spend the resources and work are required before the output is produced, and time lag before the payoff, right? The delay and the resources required, firms need to believe that the sacrifice, the patience, and the effort will offer a real payoff in the future. So institutions help determine the incentive because investment and production then occur naturally under these certain conditions. For example, decision whether or not to attend college, just like what you are doing now. So believe that your degree will result in higher wages above the cost of tuition and the opportunity cost of 4 years' income, right? This is voluntary investment in human capital. So now, when we take a look at institution, incentives, and economic growth using all of these models that we learned so far, Solo 1, Solo 2, and modern growth theory. Here's the original production function, right? And we have incorporated everything in there. Institutions, capital, physical capital, human capital, and technology. Now, from this point K, okay, the right institution provide incentives for people to invent new technology and to invest in human and physical capital. The actions lead to economic growth. So people must work and invest today in order to get payoffs from the output in the future. So now, in the future, with the private property rights and institution, we can see now not only the slope of the production function has changed, but also it shifted out, okay, the production function as well. So the production lines is going to shift. So growth fostering institutions are those that maximizes expected future payoffs for producers, right? So positive institution can shift the production function upward, right? Increasing it from F1 to F2. Now, for any given level of capital, like say capital level K, right? Capital K. For any given capital level, output is higher, okay? All right, so here we go. So we are done with this chapter, right? So next chapter we'll shift gear a little bit. I hope you're enjoying so far.